Hello, everyone, and welcome to Inform New Hampshire. This is episode 33. My name is Dean. This is Richie to my right, my co-host. And we are, this is October 4th, 2016. We are broadcasting on Monday evenings at 6:30 p.m. as well as Thursday morning, Saturday morning, Sunday morning on Manchester Cable Channel 23. We also have a YouTube channel called Inform New Hampshire. And we run a Facebook group called Inform New Hampshire. Feel free to stop by and like us and check out some of our videos. Today we're going to do a little talking about the federal government, but before that, I just want to mention that Richie and I are, I'm not sure if we're current or former state representatives or state coordinators for National Liberty Alliance, and we believe the National Liberty Alliance has a solution to America's problems, and that being the reinstitution of the common law grand juries, which had been stolen from us back in 1946. Common law grand juries are a way for the people to investigate and root out corruption from their governments, local, state, federal. And it's no accident that that tool was taken from us while we were busy watching sports, taking care of our families, earning a living. The government has consistently, over time, incrementally been stealing our freedoms, robbing us of our wealth, and instituting corruptive forms and systems of government that keeps us under control and under wraps. And I could go on and on. So today, before we start, we'll just say a little bit about Jerry DeLamus. He's a good friend of ours. He's the husband of a state rep, Susan DeLamus, for the state of New Hampshire. And Jerry was incarcerated by the federal government for non-crimes, and he's being held in, I believe, Nevada under bad conditions, and I think they're attempting to break him of his will. Unfortunately, they don't know that he's a Marine and he's a tough guy. So, Richie, what do you want to say about?
Well, as always, I just want to ask people if they would contribute to Jerry and Sue financially because of the tremendous burden that's placed upon them by our federal government. You know, it's one thing to go after somebody because they have committed a crime. It's another when somebody is accused of something like Jerry was, which is speaking his mind. He didn't threaten anybody. And why he's in jail, he could, even if they wanted to prefer the charges on him, he could be released on his own recognizance right here in New Hampshire with his family. He's not going anywhere. But anyway, if you could donate to Jerry's fund, his legal aid fund, I would appreciate it. I'm sure his family would. It's at freejerrydelemus.com, and the spelling of that is JERRYDELEMUS. freejerrydelemus.com. And thank you. We appreciate that. All the help. I'm sure they do, too. And where do you want to go from here?
Well, I think if you were the oligarchy structure that controls the planet, you might want to overwhelm and infiltrate your enemies, we the people, so that you could confuse them and disorient them and get them to fight amongst each other rather than know their true enemy. And one way to do that would be to create vast amounts of government agencies. And so my friend and researcher over here went through the federal, I don't know, website, is it?
Yeah, but there's only a couple. I typed them up there. I mean,
No,
there's probably 30 here.
22 pages right here of government agencies.
This isn't complete?
No, it's not.
Oh,
You gave me the complete list right here. So, what Richie found out is there's roughly 682 government agencies,
Federal
government
government agencies,
federal
yeah.
government agencies, most of which are unconstitutional. And when you hear of some of these, you'll probably, I don't know what you'll do.
yeah, let me just say that by unconstitutional, Dean means in Article 1, Section 8 of the U.S. Constitution, we the people granted powers to them to deal with immigration issues, post office, money, commerce, and what's the other one? Weights and measures, a few things like that. There's only a handful of things. So at best, maybe they can come up with 15 or 20 agencies, and that's stretching it. There's 682. And I just printed this list out yesterday. And the thing that's mind-boggling is that they had when our government blew up the World Trade Centers, yeah, that's just rumor. They probably never did that, but whoever took them down. They took advantage of that, and they came out with Homeland Security and the TSA to build on the federal government so that you would feel safe. So with the 682 United States federal agencies that they have, and that's almost a contradiction in terms, but the federal agencies that they have, the 682, you do feel safer, right? So when in New Hampshire, for example, they had the heroin deaths last year, 420 in New Hampshire, the worst in the country. Our governor, spending a lot of time and effort into studying the problem, said, why don't we dedicate one of our courtrooms, or a new court, to the heroin problem in this state? And then we'll come up with $1.5 million to hire law enforcement, more cops, and that should deal with the problem just fine. I totally disagree with that. You can keep your courts and keep your bar members out of our courts, because that's what's polluting this country, all three branches of government. But if you want to do something, start teaching our children, and you people listening should be demanding from the school departments and the mayors and the county commissioners and whoever they are to start teaching our kids about this stuff, the hazards of putting things, foreign objects, into your system. And when it gets to your blood and then to your brain, what it does to you, instead of putting up a court so that when you're 20 or 30 years old and hooked on heroin and you're dealing with the judge who doesn't really give a damn, he all he cares about is taking money out of your pocket, because that's all the government does anyway. It's too late. You're hooked then. It's ridiculous. And it's no different. I mean, I don't want to get off track. It's no different with the federal government. The 682 federal agencies. You realize, and I didn't know this till yesterday, I was looking through the list, and there's actually a United States Cyber Command. We have an agency to deal with cyber, I don't know what cyber command issues are, but we have one. And that's not to say that there aren't cyber problems, but the private sector could be dealing with that for the government. It doesn't have to be a governmental agency. There are things to block electronic signals from coming in, one way or another. But anyway, that's just my 2 or 3 cents on that thing. What did you want to add, Dean?
Well, one of my pet peeves would be the Department of Education, and let me just read a few of the departments or federal agencies that are listed under Office of the Secretary, OS, Office of Communications and Outreach, Office of General Counsel, Office of Inspector General, Office of Legislation and Congressional Affairs, Office of Civil Rights, Office of Education Technology, Institute of Education Sciences, National Centers for Education Statistics, Office of Innovation and Improvement, Office of Chief Financial Officer, Office of Management, Office of Chief Information Officer, Office of Planning, Evaluation, and Policy Development, Risk Management Service, Office of Post-Secondary Education, Office of Vocational and Adult Education, Office of Federal Student Aid, President's Advisory Board on Tribal Colleges and Universities, Presidency's Advisory Board on Historical Black Colleges,
This is only a half-an-hour show, you know.
Office of Elementary and Secondary Education, Office of Migrant Education, Office of Safe and Healthy Students, Student Advisory, Student Achievement and School Accountability Programs, White House Initiative on Asian American and Pacific Islanders. This goes on and on. This is just ridiculous. Gosh, if we could just wipe them all out, we'd probably save a few bucks right there, and maybe our educational system would improve. Because honestly, since the Department of Education was founded, which I can't remember when, but it was not
In the 70s, I think.
not prior to about the time I was of age. So I think from that point on, when we were roughly the top educators of the world, we've gone now to, I believe,
26, I think.
no, I think we're at the bottom of the top 100.
Oh, is it that bad? I didn't realize that.
I think so.
I haven't looked it
I'd have to look it up. I would invite you to look that up, and having done so, prove me wrong. I wouldn't care. I'd be happy for you to have some research under your belt to find out that we basically have a criminal organization that has destroyed our educational system scientifically, methodically, and specifically to help undermine this country in total. And that is only one aspect of the total assault on this country. So for those of you who are still actively participating in the bread and circus or the sports events or the going to the movies and that kind of thing, but have yet to wake up to what's happening to your country, I would just invite you to please have some consideration for what's happening around you, because what you see in the mainstream media is a lie. It's fraudulent. It's made up. It's mind control. And it has nothing to do with the truth. It has everything to do with what they want you to think, where they want you to stay, suppress you, mind control you. They even mind control you with the flicker rates on your TV. Look it up. It's a long time ago when they figured that out. And by the way, this hurricane coming up from Florida, from the Caribbean, apparently U.S. planes have been spotted outside that hurricane, which in and of itself is not a big deal. But since the 1970s, the U.S. has been steering hurricanes. The technology and the ability to steer hurricanes was available to the U.S. back in the 70s. So keep an eye on that hurricane and just know that it wouldn't be happening without some type of participation by the U.S. government. So it's interesting to see what's happening. I know the eye of the hurricane just passed over Haiti, where the Clintons pretended to help them out with their foundation and stole all the money. And the Haitian president has invited Donald Trump, as a matter of fact, to get involved and expose the fact that the Clintons stole all the money, 96% of the money that was donated. Remember, all the TV shows and all the Hollywood stars were getting involved and making a big show of how they were going to help the Haitian people because, oh my God, they were so wiped out by a big hurricane. Well, 96% of that money was stolen. That's right, it was taken from those people. That money went to the elitists who want to tell you that you're bad and wrong because you didn't donate. So anyway, I got a little distracted there.
That's all right.
Back to the federal agencies.
Well, I wanted to add something on the, I guess you would say, disclaimer. We bash the government in general a lot. So for those of you who are listening who are government employees, it really isn't a reflection on you unless you're in the upper level or the top level. Then it is, because I believe a lot of these agencies are corrupt. And like when I started working in the bank right out of high school, I was a bank teller. And working in the bank, I didn't understand the whole system. I mean, I went to the American Institute of Banking and took courses and tried to understand banking better, but I didn't know going in. I was just cashing checks and, making transactions and doing what I was doing. It wasn't until later life that I found out what the fractionalized banking system is and does to us, all of us. It makes the dollar worth nothing, garbage. It destroys us. It destroys the economy with inflation and everything else. I think they said last year the dollar was worth 1.3 cents for $1, okay? And when I was a little kid, it had some buying power because we were under the gold standard back then. And I just heard it said also that back during the Roman Empire, you could take an ounce of gold and buy a toga, a nice custom-made belt, and a pair of sandals for an ounce of gold. And today, you could take that same ounce of gold, go down to the bank, cash it in, and run quickly to the clothing store and purchase a nice suit, maybe not a $10,000 suit, but a nice suit, custom-made belt, and a pair of shoes for that same ounce of gold. Because the gold maintains its value, but the dollar, forget about it. It doesn't. You take a $20 bill and a $20 gold piece, which one do you think is worth more? It's obvious. The $20 gold piece is, what are they selling them for now? About $1,400, I think?
Yep.
Try getting $1,400 for a $20 bill.
The operative point to remember there is that when you see the price of gold go up, that's not the truth. The price of gold remains the same, and what you're seeing is the price of the dollar, or the value of the dollar rather, is going down. And so it takes more dollars to buy that same suit or that same ounce of gold. It just looks like gold price is going up.
Yeah, but also that gold has been stolen from us, all of us. It's in the hands of the inbreds.
The inbreds.
Yeah, you know, the people at the top. That's how they do it.
I know.
The inbreeding got to their mind, and they think they can control the world.
Literally, they are inbreds. They're fanatics. For
No, they are literally inbreds. That's
they're-
why I call them that.
their bloodlines. So, some other agencies?
They don't have a family tree. It's a vine. But anyway,
True.
yeah, I know. I wanted to make that point though about government employees. I used to be a government employee. I met a lot of nice people I work with. I don't think any of them are bad intentionally. I mean, there's good and bad in everything. But our government has been infiltrated with people. I don't even know if we have a government anymore. I know there was a coup in the 1860s to 1870, and there was I'll try to get this for you next week because I forget it, and I apologize, but there was a very well-made documentary that I just saw that I posted about the Bar Association being the one behind the coup that happened 155 years ago. And it wasn't exclusively the bar, it was the banks that control the bar that were doing this. And that's why everything you do today, when you go out to work, the government extracts money right out of your check for your labor, which is unconstitutional. It's been proven 1,000,000 times. There's a very good documentary, if you want to see it, to verify what I'm saying. It's Understanding the Truth About the IRS. Put that out on YouTube and watch it, and you'll see. And most of the people, thank God, because like I said, there's good and bad and everything, most of the people on there are constitutional attorneys that are trying to help us understand that, hey, this is totally wrong. They have no business taking your time or labor. It is what's precious to all of us on this planet. You know, we're born, we go through life, we struggle, we get older. And, you know, I'm in my twilight, I guess you'd say. What am I going to live, 5 years, 10 years?
Did you just
2
point at
days?
me for getting older?
Well, forget about you. There's rocks around that ain't as old as you. But anyway, I just wanted to make that point. Time is very precious to all of us, and for someone to steal it, by the way, the money that they take out of your paycheck, and this is according to the Grace Commission, it was done under Reagan. Whether you like Reagan or you don't, the Grace Commission was a pretty admirable organization or group of people, committee. They determined that all of the money collected from people's paychecks through taxes goes to the Federal Reserve Bank to pay the debt, or the interest on the debt, excuse me. What that means is it goes to the Federal Reserve Bank or the inbreds. If you want to stop these idiots, and that's what they are, from trying to control your life, stop the payment of your taxes. Before you do that, study the law and make sure you know what you're doing. And yes, I'm advocating that people do that because it's unconstitutional. If they come after me, they come after me. I don't really care. I'm trying to do this peacefully. I'm not a troublemaker, but damn it, I paid 46 years of my life. And I'm mad about that because I didn't have to. It was my ignorance. But when your own government, the people you pay, force you in court and the judge says, no, you got to pay it. Well, to me, that's treason. And you can't sit there and say, no, you're ignorant. No, I'm not ignorant. I'm trying to explain myself, but it's not to your satisfaction, Judge. So you want to keep me in jail or make me pay money that I don't have to pay. And I'll guarantee you the judge doesn't pay it. Guarantee that. Let them put their tax returns out, and the attorneys too. It's very frustrating, but it can be dealt with. The same thing with a license to drive, you need a license to get married? Really? I didn't think you did, but
Yeah, you do.
government's permission to get married.
You need a license to have a bicycle, a license to
Have a dog.
Have a dog.
Yeah.
Yep.
But you don't.
So here's a few more departments for you. We have the IRS, the EPA, the DEA, the FBI, the CIA, the BLM, the US NSA, the NASA, IMF, World Bank, League of Foreign Nations, BOP, FEMA, TSA, Homeland Security, U.S. Forest Service, Department of Energy, Department of Education, Department of Transportation, Department of Agriculture, Department of Commerce, Department of Defense, Department of Health and Human Services, Department of Housing and Urban Development, Department of the Interior, Department of Justice, Department of Labor, Department of Veterans Affairs, Department of Defense, Judicial Conference of the United States, Office of Prohibition and Pre-Trial Services, United States Sentencing Commission, Council on Economic Advisors, National Security Council, Office of Information and Regulatory Affairs, Office of National Drug Control Policy, Presidential Intelligence Advisory Board. That was an oxymoron.
That's why I put it in.
Bureau of African Affairs. What is that? The Bureau of African Affairs. Interesting.
I don't know.
And the
really don't know.
U.S. Advisory Board on Cyber Command. Yep.
One
All
of the
right.
reasons, me and Dean talked about this beforehand, and what we're trying to explain to everybody, and this includes me and Dean, we're not excluding ourselves, but it's our ignorance that has created this monster. And I was trying to think of an adjective to explain it earlier, and Dean says it's metastasizing on us, and that's true. It's supposed to be something this big, and it's like an elephant tumor. It's out there somewhere. It's just, it's incredible what is happening to us. And we sit and complain and complain and complain about it. It's within our control to do something, because it's your government. You're paying for it through your taxes and believe me, you're taxed up to, they make $2 billion a day just on the gasoline tax, the federal government. $2 billion a day. That's not too bad. And they need other money? Anyway.
I think they use the majority of the gas, too.
Well, we do. We pay for it, though.
I know.
It's our
Government
tax
vehicles,
dollars that are paying for it.
Once they,
Look at the money they waste on, not waste on wars, but waste on the vehicles in wars. Tanks, I mean, they're real convenient, right? Or energy efficient, excuse me.
right.
What do they get, like 10 gallons to the mile?
I think something like that for a tank, yeah. Crazy. So, so one of the things to look at here is how do you get control of a out of control government? And metastasize is a good word because, just like we all have cancerous cells in our body. Everybody does. The question is, are they out of control? And once things metastasize, then it infects the body and takes control. And that's pretty much what we have now. So most people don't recognize how few freedoms they have in this country until maybe they travel to another country. Like if you go down to South America or something like that, you'll find that, wow, if you own property there and you build a house on it, you don't have 25 city, county, and federal agencies that you have to get approval from just to do something with the land that supposedly you own, which you don't own, by the way. All right. So it's just worth looking at. Why do we need all this, and what are we doing about it? It's our government. We, the people, are managing our government, aren't we? Or are we? I would say we aren't. We are horribly remiss in not managing our government, given that this is out of control. And if you also look at how many, I think over 900 military bases around the world that we have.
152 countries, yeah.
Yeah. So no wonder we have a reputation. It's not because of, I don't know. I don't even know what our reputation is, but
One of the things that I've learned over my lifetime, and it took me a lifetime to learn it, shows you how slow I am, I guess, but the reality is, I don't want to say life, but your government is not a spectator sport anymore. You don't sit there and go to the booths and check off somebody's name and say, he'll save me. Really? You think someone's going to save you? they're not going to save you. You have to get involved in the process. Whether it's a little or a lot, not everybody can get involved to a greater degree. Get involved to whatever degree you can. I find myself, I write letters to the governors, to the attorney generals, to the sheriff, to whoever I have to write, the mayor, it doesn't matter. But I express my opinion. It's only my opinion, unless it is a matter of law, because then I think I'm a little more strenuous about it. But you have a right to do that. They're your employees. And if you keep sitting there cheering these people in the streets while they drive by in a limousine and you treat them like royalty, or one of the inbreds, then we all deserve what we're going to get from them. And we're getting it. And it's getting worse. It's not too late for you people to stand up. I can't tell you what to do. You have to find out for yourself. One of the things I'd like to ask you to do is to get involved with the National Liberty Alliance, because they do have a solution to America's problems, and it's peaceful and lawful. So I would encourage that with everybody.
Now, before we finish up, we want to draw attention, in case you haven't noticed, we have a sign here, elect Richie Merritt for constitutional sheriff. So Richie here is running for
How'd that get there?
Hillsborough County Sheriff. So just real quick, Richie, what's your reason for running for county sheriff?
I'm sick and tired of the direction of the country. I know that the county sheriff across the country has the ability to affect changes in the county. And he can only do that if the people get behind him. You can't do it by yourself. One man can't do it. Donald Trump isn't going to save you. If you're a Hillary supporter, I feel sorry for you. But if you are, she's not going to save you either. Our country has evolved to where we are now, and it's almost at a sewer level. It's going to continue to deteriorate if we don't get involved. It's our country, our government, our life. If you sit there and you watch Dancing to the Stars or With the Stars or whatever the hell it is, when you're old and gray like me, or older, and you're sitting in a rocking chair with your grandchildren, they say, "How come you didn't do anything, Grandpa?" Sit there and explain it to them while you sat on your ass and did nothing. That's why I'm running for sheriff. I believe I can make a difference. Thank you.
You're welcome, Richie. And what would be some of your immediate, or
The corruption in government.
Yep.
I'm not interested in somebody rolling through a stop sign, because I don't think they're a dangerous individual. And how many of us have done that in our lifetime and not killed anybody? I want to go after the criminals that are running our state, and I'm not pointing fingers at anybody, but there are people in our government who are corrupt. And I will find them, and I will arrest them. And if they violate your rights, I will arrest them. Because if I take an oath to uphold and defend the Constitution, the Bill of Rights is in there. And I've heard people in the federal government tell me, well, that doesn't apply to the states. I'll be damned if it doesn't. Very quickly, I hope I have the time to do this, but
Yep.
the state, New Hampshire, this is the New Hampshire Constitution. They're sovereign, says so in Article 7. Article 7, excuse me. The people are sovereign. All of the states, including New Hampshire, made this document, the United States Constitution, all right? In it, in Article 6, Paragraph 3, it says that anybody who is elected in the county, state, or federal level has to take an oath to uphold and defend the Constitution. Now, the state did that. They created this document, not the federal government, the state. That tells me that the state is saying, I abide by this, the Bill of Rights. Otherwise, why would you sign on the dotted line a contract or a compact with the other 49 states? It makes no sense. So regardless of what the federal government says, the state government does have to abide by it. And if they don't abide by the Bill of Rights, I'm going to arrest them and we're going to find out who's right.
And that's what we need for you, for we the people in Hillsborough County. So we're out of time. So thank you so much for watching. Tune in next week. We'll be happy to share some more information with you.
Thank you.